using that at the end of the night. Okay, so we should just remember those lines. You guys, the money button for sure.
No, no, no. April, we will try as well. So when I do so.
Hello, good afternoon. You're welcome to our webinar, How to Develop a Pitch-Ready Presentation for Your Business Idea. Thanks for joining us. We'll be going live shortly. We're more people to come in. So this webinar is targeted at business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, co-founders, professionals, and students. So our host, Mrs. Sola, she's the principal consultant at SCNA, a management consultant brand that helps brands with strategy. So we'll be going live shortly. Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone. Just checking to see whether you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Those who have just joined, if you can see my screen, just say yes. So
yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So you're welcome to this session. Yes, so how to develop a pitch-ready presentation for your business idea. I'm trying to give some time to see if some other people will join, but either ways, I'll just kick off with a little bit of an intro. And what I'd like to say is, if you're in the chat, oh yeah, thank you, Stephen. So if I would like you to please introduce yourself in the chat and just give us a sense of where you're coming from and what your interest in today is. And if you can't hear me at any point, please also, call my attention to it. Of course, I would like everyone to go on mute if you're not speaking, and my co-host will also mute anyone if we see that there is a interruption coming in from your line and all that. So yeah, and so today we're going to be talking about how to develop a pitch-ready presentation for your business idea. And by way of introduction, my name is Sola Abulu. I am the principal consultant for Sola Abulu and Associates, and I manage this firm. We started in January 2020, and today I'm going to be sharing some of my insights into how you can present a business plan, how you can do it in such a way that you can sell your business story to those who you would want to sell it to, and how you can build your storyline and your narrative, and how you tailor your message to your audience, whatever that audience is. But I have a lot of slides in here. I will do some presentations at some point, and then I would ask us to ask questions. Take questions later after about 30 minutes. But it will be helpful if I have a sense of what your interest areas are, and if you are a small business or a startup, because that will sort of determine the way in which I will go. So anyway, so let's get right into it then. So yeah, this is a little bit of who I am. Yes, I used to be the communications manager for Shell in Nigeria. And yeah, I also have an MBA from the Lagos Business School, 25 years experience in organizational strategy, business, and all of that. I lead a team of strategy and communications consultants. These are my contact addresses. Our management consultancy is all around enabling brands and organizations to achieve their goals through organizational efficiency and strategic communications. So we help organizations to work better, help them to think through their business problems, what they can do differently, and just help them to navigate the complexity that has to do with setting up a business. So that's where I've come from. I have a lot of experience working with complex organizations, so usually that comes in handy. So now today, and this is going to be a 1-hour session, But I will, yeah, something needs to go on mute. Host, please can you mute anyone who is, please just help me mute anyone coming in. Hearing some noise from, just mute, please. And kindly admit as they come in. So I assume we're recording, right? I hope we are. Okay, we're recording. Am I correct? Okay, yeah, we are. So the outline for today is the basic business planning, the key elements of a pitch deck presentation flow, how to build your storyline, and how to tailor your message to your audience. I hope I will try to time myself so that I do not speak for more than 30 minutes, and then we can then get the questions in as they come along. So the first question I will ask is, are you a startup? Are you here representing a startup or a small business? And there's a big difference between the two of them. I know many of us are familiar with the language of startups now, but it's important for us to say what the difference is between a startup and a small business. The startups are normally the technical sort of things that we see these days. They are those ones that start off with a repeatable and a scalable business model. They intend to disrupt the market. They are the pay stacks, those kind of companies that we see, Piggyvest, all those sort of, they come up with a small business model. They plan to scale up over a long period of time, as fast as possible. And it's usually technology driven, working on a technology platform. It requires major funding. So usually they seek for funding from venture capitalists, and so all the ed tech companies, the health tech companies, the fintech companies, they all fall into this category. It's a different business model completely. So they partner with financiers and people that can help them with this. They may not be profitable in their first year, second year, third year. In fact, that is not really the end game. They are really about trying to prove a business model that they can scale and they can repeat. Typically, the model of for instance, a successful startup, you can repeat it anywhere. And which is why you find out that, for instance, some of the fintech companies you find the same model being spread across countries simply because it is a repeatable and a scalable model. Once you can test it in a market that is relatively similar, you can reproduce it elsewhere as well. Most of the time, such companies eventually become, if they are successful, they are bought over by a larger company. And it's very common for founder exits, for the people who founded the startup to exit at some point in time. In fact, there's so many people who are startup founders and they've gone through that whole trajectory. They build, they scale, they repeat, and then they exit, somebody buys them over, and they have what you call multiple series of funding, series A, series B, and all that. That's but unique to startup. Small business is what most of us are familiar with, and with small businesses, it's completely different. You can generate revenue from the first day. You don't need major investment or time to formulate a company that works. You need generate relatively small amount of sales. You're not really looking at a big, massive market like, the startups are looking at. Most of the startups, they're thinking of hundreds of thousands of subscribers, sometimes even millions for their service or their product or whatever it is. For small businesses, it may just be, serving maybe 1,000 people, maybe 100, even 50,000. That's quite a lot for a small business. But many times it's numbers that are much, much smaller than that. And enter into a local market and you have just a few employees and you don't need a big market. Debt financing is usually, you get money mostly from debt, which is you get lenders either from the formal banks or online lenders or whatever. And the financing is usually transactional. It doesn't require, your ownership is intact. Whereas in the startup, the people who fund the startups actually buy equity as well. So you actually lose some of the ownership for the venture capitalists that come in. And those ones come in as partners, whereas financial relationship in a small business is purely transactional. It's about give me money, I charge you an interest rate, you give me back my money, and then you do whatever you like with your business. I'm not interested. But in the startup, you actually, when a financier comes on board, he or she is a partner with you, the institution is a partner with you on the business. And the end game of the small business is to be self-sustaining and continue like that. Whereas, in startup is something completely different. So having said that, I ask again, how many are you representing a startup or a small business? And I'd like to see some responses in the chat so that I have an idea of the bulk of the audience that we have here, because that would determine the direction in which this goes. So I'm going to be checking in the chat now to see. Please just type in something in the chat. Just say startup or small business. Just put that in, whichever please just get that going. So in terms of getting your storyline, I mean, if you are doing the fundamentals of a business plan, you must have your mission, you must have your vision, you must have values. What are your goals? What's the strategy? What tactics are you going to do? And how are you going to execute? These are the basic fundamentals that you would have. Yes, I see a lot of us here at small business. Okay, that's good. Kayode and Co, please watch out for me. If you see anybody that is startup, just let me know. But if we're still very much in small business, I'll fit there. It makes sense anyway that most of us are in small business. I'm also in the small business space, so I think that's good. I also have relevant experience. So the purpose of today is how can we then present our business plan in a way that is sellable, that helps us to meet our objectives, that helps to bring people on board and gets us the kind of support that we need to do what we need to do, So that's really what we're talking about here. And this is the broad fundamental basis for which, sorry, let me just get rid of this. I don't know why. Yeah. So this is so guys, please just help me do the admit or just keep doing it so that I don't have to, it doesn't show up on my screen. Thank you. So next slide. Okay. So how to present your storyline in 5 minutes. So this is where we're going to get to at the end of the day. It is actually possible. Actually, everybody running a business, you should be able to present your storyline in 5 minutes. And this is how you can do it. You must have a background statement about how you got to where you are, what the problem is that your business is trying to solve, the solution that your business provides generally, or the solutions that are available, and how your product or your service, in particular, the benefits that your product or your service brings in that space, and then what you are asking your audience to do. So whatever it is that you're asking your audience to do, that should come out in your story. Sorry, please, can you put everyone that joins, please just put them on mute as they come in, please, host. Thank you very much. So how to tailor your message to your audience is how you then, this is when you're trying to build your business plan storyline, this is a way in which you can tailor your message to your audience. You must think about what you want to achieve. Now, because this is a generic presentation or seminar or course or webinar, whatever we call it, all of us are here for different reasons. So there are different reasons why you need a business plan. And I think by the time we go into the Q&As, you may be able to share some of that with me. If you have some questions already, please type them in the chat. Just keep typing from now on so that we can then take those questions immediately we go into the Q&As. I will make sure I don't take too much time, but this is just to set the scene so that any questions we're asking follows a pattern that all of us can relate to and key into. So assuming I need to have a storyline just to define how I want to run my business, then what is the objective? What is the audience profile? What is the interest of the audience? What do I want them to do? What are the key messages I need to sell? What are the proof points that I have that my business can do this thing? And what is the call to action? So if you're a small business and you want to raise money, for instance, then you absolutely need a business plan, because nobody's going to give you any money without you having a decent business plan that shows them the value of your business, the problem it's trying to solve, how your business is positioned to make money, your understanding of the market, and how you're going to play in that space. So all of that is what the business planning process takes you through. So so there are two aspects of what we're talking about today. There's the business planning element, then there's the storytelling element. This is the storytelling element because the session is about how to present your story, but I didn't want to jump into the presentation of the story without talking about the meat of the story. So let's get to the meat of the story at this time. Sorry guys, can you please be keeping watch on the admins or because it's blocking my screen. So, this doesn't quite, not showing the way I wanted it to show. Okay, anyways, so I think I moved back a slide. Yeah, okay, yeah, so there you go. Sorry, it's too sensitive. Okay, it just keeps moving a bit faster than I want it to. Okay, so there's a bit of a delay. Yeah. So if you want to create a business plan, there's what is known as a lean canvas. There's actually a one-page business plan template that I found. I actually found it on Canva Pro, and it helps you to create a snapshot of your business idea. And it helps you to distill the essence of your product or your service and break it down into key parts. So I would use this template to just describe the key elements that should be in your business plan. And I want to make a point because I think there are two reasons why everybody in a small business should have a business plan. One, to keep yourself grounded, to keep yourself focused, to keep, I mean, if you don't have a plan, then you don't even know what success is. There's no strategy, there's no direction. You're just going as it gets. Now that is fine if maybe you are just planning to do something like what you would call a side hustle, and you're never intending to be a big player, or you're never intending to be somebody that is working with a corporate brand. You're just doing something on a very, very small level. You know what I'm saying? Like selling something outside on your street. If you're a street seller, for instance, yeah, so you probably don't need a business plan, although you still need some understanding of the markets, but you probably may not need to do this. But if you're someone that your business would ever need to work with another business, or you want to attract customers that are of a certain nature or require a certain level of service, it makes sense for you to have a business plan, because that's the only way you can attract a certain level of clientele. So that's the prism with which we are coming with this. I am a firm believer in using what you need to get what you want. So I wouldn't be recommending a business plan if your business is not the type of business that is even digital or is online, or you would ever be going to ask anybody for money. But if you're ever planning to ask anybody that is not a relative for money, then you need a business plan, because nobody that is not related to you will give you money without seeing a sense of what your business is like, how it is geared up, and what's going to make money. So this is just at a glance of what key elements that should be in a plan. What's the problem so what's going on with your business? Why are you even in this business? Every business exists to create a problem. It's either about food, it's about drinks, it's either medicine for health, it's wellness. For me, it's about problem solving in organizations, it's about productivity in organizations, it's about profitability. What are the existing alternatives? Now, this is very important, because you can't just go to your business and pretend as if there's nobody else in the market. In Nigeria, we're like 200 million people, and there's so many more, alternatives. So if your knowledge of your business, the first question, if you come to me and say you have a business, first thing I want to ask is that, who are your competitors? Who else is in your business? You should have an understanding of who is in your business line with you at the level at which you are, those who are above you, those who are, underneath, or your pair competitors, because those are the people that your customers or potential customers have a choice to choose between. And if you don't know how customers are making comparisons, then it's not possible for you to even know how to, it's not possible for you to know how to pitch your services, products, and your services. And so you have to have a sense of that. Then what's the solution? How are you going to solve the problems that you're talking about? You need to write down a solution for each one. What are the measures of success for your products and your service? I think this is just generally a reality check. Because I think a lot of times when people go into business, you are emotionally invested in the things that you have planned to do. It is when you now subject to this kind of stress test that you now realize that, oh my goodness, this product I'm talking about, alternatives, and the alternatives are better than what I have, or my service is not strong enough to compete with the other players in the market. These are questions that you ask yourself. I mean, I had a session on IG Live yesterday, and I was saying something. I was saying some people think, oh, they should just go into, I've always been a business person. I can, I have a sense, I have a gut feel, they just go into business. I said, well, you can choose as a business person to learn before, or to investigate about your market before, or find out about it, get a rude shock when you actually get into the market. And it would be unfortunate if you spend a lot of money and you now find out that your product is actually obsolete or is not required, or you are located in the wrong place, which is what happens to a lot of people. But doing all these things ahead of time helps you to make the right decisions. And then what's the unique value proposition of your business? For me, these are questions I've had to ask myself setting up my consulting firm last year. And some of the questions I've set up for myself is, first of all, in the consulting markets generally in Nigeria, my observation is that it's pitched at a very high level in terms of strategy and management consulting. So the big brands, the big institutions, they have access to that. and there is an underserved market of a medium level businesses that do not have access to world-class consulting services in terms of strategy and communications. And those are the markets. Sorry, can we mute everyone, please? Co-host, please mute everyone, please. And those are the markets. Please, when everyone joins, please just mute them immediately, please. So, and those are the markets that we're all playing to. So you then need to then find out. So for me, my unique value proposition is that you're going to, for the underserved market that is not one of the bigger brands, you can get world-class strategy and consulting services from me because I have worked with a world-class organization for many years and I have the expertise that is required. And I am flexible enough to develop a customized plan to work with your organization in the way that you will. I also do B2C offerings for individuals as well. Either way, I'll talk a little bit about my own unique value proposition, but these are things that you have to develop so that you understand why will anybody want to choose you? Why the hell will anybody, sorry, excuse my language, why will anybody want to work with you? Why will anybody want to buy your product? And then what separates you from the competitors? And this helps you to refine your offer because if you see that you are not differentiated, then you really have to go back to the drawing board. And I think a lot of people are out there. Some people, you can differentiate yourself with your product. You can also differentiate yourself with your service. And I think that's a very easy thing. Service is actually the easiest thing to differentiate yourself with because first of all, customer service is a problem everywhere, and particularly in our environment. So if you have a good product, you can actually differentiate yourself based on the service. But you first have to understand the service levels that other people are offering before you can then say your own is differentiated over and above that. So there's just a lot that you need to, that it helps to know about the market. And all of this goes into your business storyline. Now, if you're somebody that has done the research and you've done all of this, when you are talking about your business, whether it is to someone you want to lend money to, or somebody, a marketing opportunity, or somebody that you want to, a customer that you want to buy in bulk from you for, it's easy for you to reel these things. You can give the customer, the potential client, confidence that you know what you're doing because you have all these details to hand. The person can tell that you have done your numbers. And at the bottom here, where you see the cost structure and the revenue streams, that's now about how are you going to make money. I mean, in the older days, I remember growing up, a lot of people just went into businesses and they never asked themselves all these questions. They never thought about how much money they spend on, for instance, Wi-Fi now, and data cost is very high in Nigeria. How much are you spending on that? Your rent, your living fees, your living costs. They're not factoring all that. Cost of employees, if it's advertising, yes, revenue is coming in, but are you really making money? And over a long period of time, are you going to be making money? How often does money come in? Do you do any of those numbers? What's the pricing model of your product and service? And these are things that most of the people in the startup phase, tech startups, they have to follow these processes because there is no venture capitalist that is going to sit down with you at a table if you do not have this kind of data behind your proposal. The same thing with a bank. If you are going to a formal lending authority, they will need you to look at some of these numbers before they decide whether you're someone they want to work. So I'm not going to go further on that. And there are some other tools that you can use just to sort of like increase your knowledge about your business. And I find, first of all, I'm a hardcore strategy and planning person. So I find all this very useful because for me, I think a lot of us, because this is only what gives you that external perspective from the perspective of the customer or whoever it is that you want to work with you. Because when they see, if you're able to do your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and your threats, you will then understand what it is that is, you need to work on, what you can leverage on, and what you perhaps, is even a threat to your business. And that threat may even be competitors, it may be government policy, it may be anything. It may be, COVID, it may be that, people are not going out, there's lockdown. But you then need to know, okay, there's a lockdown, can I do home deliveries? Can I do services? But these are all things that it helps to have it written down somewhere. Just taking your mind through it, I think it really helps. For me, definitely, I've done all this for my firm. I know what the weaknesses of my firm are. I know what the opportunities, in fact, I know what the opportunities are, in terms of, where I need to play. And I'll show a little bit of some of that I have seen over time. And it's an evolving and a dynamic space. As you go into the market, you realize what that is. As time goes on too, I'm also beginning to realize some of the strengths that we have, because when I go into the market again, I also see, based on the reaction I get from potential clients and customers as well, I get to realize that, oh, so this seems to be a strength, because for us to be having this conversation, it looks like there are not that many people serving this. So all of that comes out, strengths and opportunities as you enter into the market. But it's important that as I begin to get that data, I actually begin to put it down and then begin to map out how I am going to leverage on those opportunities, how I'm going to channel my business to play on those strengths, and also how I'm going to address the weaknesses. Because while the strengths will help propel me, the weaknesses will definitely hold me back as well. So there's a lot of things we need to think about. So how are you going to introduce your company to potential? How are they going to be? How will they know that you exist? How are you going to acquire your customers? At what point are they going to be activated? In other words, come on board. Are you going to have a plan for retention? I mean, it's always good. There are two things that are very important in business, which I'm also finding out even as a very early stage consulting firm, is that awareness is key. So I have gone through that phase of brand awareness, and we're still doing that. You launch off first with the awareness. As you are doing the awareness of your brand, and if you're working, because my brand is a B2B, so we're dealing with corporate clients as well as individual customers. So brand awareness is key. And for the kind of clients that I would like to attract, it's important that I build a solid, credible, realized brand. I have to do it formally. Brand visibility, brand philosophy, brand identity, brand profile, everything about my brand personality. What is our look? What is our feel? It also means making choices about the kind of work I will do, the kind of work I will not do. That is because I am pitching at a certain level. So how do I create awareness around my brand? How do I acquire new customers? How do I activate those customers? And you see, it's a journey, particularly depending on the kind of business you are running. I think if you're selling products, like maybe you're selling clothes and shoes, it may be a little bit different. But if you're providing a service to businesses or something that requires a long-term relationship to some extent, or projects, for instance, you may have to go through this route. Of course, the tech startup people definitely have to go through this route. So how are you going to retain your customers? Two things that are important is acquisition and retention. So you always want to acquire new customers, and then you want to retain the old ones that you have. And then how do you increase your revenue? What is your plan for monetization? And then how do you turn your customers into advocates? These are the things that sustain a business, really. I know a lot of businesses that are almost living 100% on referrals. They don't need to do any advertising at all. There's one brand that comes to mind in Nigeria about that is Zatek, that does chicken. I've never seen an advert from Zatek once in my life. They don't even advertise, but that chicken is all over the place. I don't know whether it's about their product, their market, how long they've been in, whatever, but they have just gotten to the point there's credibility around their brand. They're just living based on that whole distribution network and all of that. But those are for really, really big businesses. Actually, that's not relevant to us here because it's not a small business. But I also know a lot of small businesses that are based on referrals and experiences that people have had. In fact, most of us, when we start off, that's how we really start off, based on people who have dealt with us one-on-one. I'm still very much in that stage where most of what I'm getting is through referrals. But over time, you also want to have a way of actually getting the business outside of referrals as well, but maybe people coming in through your digital channels and things like that. But that's the we won't go too much into that. I will soon stop in a few minutes just so that I can give opportunity to ask questions, because I know when the questions come, I can then go back to some of these slides. For the people who are coming up with a product that is more on the tech side, this is a product market fit pyramid, where you would have to do what you call at the top of it, the user experience. What is the user experience of my product? What kind of features does it have? What's the value proposition? In other words, what does it deliver? And honestly, what I see as I get more into business and marketing, what I find is that people will, there are customers for any product for which there's value, in which the product and the market find themselves. So there's no point trying to push a product on a market that doesn't need it. But what all of us are looking for is for a product and a market fit. And the journey of entrepreneurship and business is how you discover that, first of all, find out what your product is, how you can make it the best that it can be, how you can find out the market that needs it. In fact, some people actually say work with the market first, understand the market that you're interested in, and then develop a product that fits the needs or what that market is looking for. It's not just what they need, but it's what they want actually. And then, and then underserved needs. In fact, look out for that. I always like that. That's where you look for what nobody else is doing. And like I said, you can differentiate yourself either based on your product or your service. And I think services is a very, very strong point. Even if you have a good product and you have a lousy customer service, as we've seen with a lot of tech products, then that's horrible. I mean, it just makes no sense of everything. So, and then who is your target customer? Always have to spend a lot of time on that. Now, all of this is part of your business and organizational story. It determines what you see when you're developing your business plan. It determines what you're going to say about your business, the products, the services that you're marketing, and who you're going to be pitching at any point in time. All of that, it really does play a significant part. And I believe a lot of us here are business owners or business leaders. What you find out as an entrepreneur is that you have to know a lot about everything. So it shouldn't be, I hear some business leaders say, no, I'm not into marketing. If you're an entrepreneur, you had better begin to learn about marketing. And there's a lot of information online, because there is no way you can position your brand or your products or your services without a healthy dose of marketing. If you're a new entrant, it's a different thing if you're already you're already an established brand and people know you already have a community or a customer base or a client base, and then you are adding a new product or you're expanding your services. That is completely different. But if you are starting afresh, then you really, for a very long time, all you're going to do is marketing. And a lot of the marketing is going to be driven by the vision that the business owner or the business leader has. And I'm saying this from experience because this has been my own experience as well. And the 4 P's of marketing, which is also another business tool that is also used to help people start off, is you thinking about your product or your service. Well, this is for and the price. In other words, what is your pricing strategy going to be? This was one of the things I had to do even for my services as well. I also had to develop products, which is the funny thing, and I'll show you some of them. So you would think that as a consulting firm, I don't have products. I actually have products, which I drive with services. So I have workshops, for instance. I have service packages that I can deliver. I do strategy review sessions, which will also help you deliver strategic plans, which is actually a product of a service. So we have services that deliver products to businesses. So I had to develop, first of all, the brands around each of the products. So they are named products under the consulting arms, and then there are features that each of the products has. And then there's a way in which we package it to the customers. So we have, for instance, consulting service products that we package to HR professionals. We have some we package to communications people, some we package to business leaders. All of that thinking, I have to do it. There's no way on earth. I mean, you can't escape it. And when people come to me, if I don't have all of this data, all of this information, then people don't even know who I am and what the scope of my business is and the point at which they can plug in. I am also not as focused as I should be in terms of stories, how I carve out my audience and how I slice and dice my story and serve it to the people the audiences that I want to be a part of, or I need something from them for. So yeah, that's all of that. So I can see that I'm almost running out of time. So yeah, I won't talk about this one. So when you want to do the business pitch, and I have just gone through, like I said, there are 2 aspects of what we're doing today. So one aspect is having the content, having your business story well, and know that your audience needs to have enough context to know that you really know what you're talking about and that you have a really strong business idea that is worth progressing with, is worth aligning with, is worth supporting, either from a sales perspective, marketing, or an investing perspective. So you really need to make that very clear. And so what is your objective in making that pitch? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it investing? Who is the audience? Know your audience. And these are key business communications, how would I say, principles. This is how you start. You also have to determine, what do I want to get out of this? It's what you want to get out of this that will make you craft that storyline. What do I want my audience to know? How do I want them to feel? Do I want them to feel that, oh, this is somebody I really want to work with, or this is a product I want to buy. I want to begin to distribute this. I want to bring it on my platform. I want to partner with you. What do you want them to do? What are the key messages? Now, out of all the information that I have gathered together about my brand, about the market, about the alternatives, about the concept, the products, the features, everything, what is most important in all of that information that I need to then share with this audience? Then what's the evidence that I have? What is the data? What do I need to put in visuals, graphs, or insights? What validation points exist that will make this person believe that what I'm saying is good? So for instance, if I've already entered the business, for some of us, like when we're setting up a website, we talk about social proof. So I can say I'm this, I deliver this, I deliver that. People want to say, oh yeah, show me what you've done. So you don't have to show stuff. So for someone like me, starting off early, I create a lot of content. So I have a podcast where I share a lot of my expertise about management and all of that. I have some reporting briefs, which I have created on certain topics. That's work in progress. I have a learning page that is coming on board very soon, which has some free courses already in there. I have a YouTube channel that shows a lot of webinars that I have held on certain topics. I do a lot of writing on LinkedIn. So all of this is me validating the expertise that I am saying that my brand delivers. Are you following me? So all of that is part of my messaging. If I ever need to tell anybody and show my expertise, even without having a formal client, I have proof points to show that the expertise that I am marketing, I actually have that expertise. And then what is the call to action? You must never pitch your presentation without ending with what you want the person to know, which is why I said at number 3, you must first of all have determined in your preparation phase, what is it I want this person to know about my business, about my brand, about my product, about my service? How do I want them to feel about my business, about my brand, about my product, about my service? What do I need from them? I take that understanding and what I know of them, how does that audience think? And then I craft a message that will hook that audience in. And you cannot hook that audience in if. So it all starts with, and that's the flow of the storyline. So I can talk a bit more about that if questions come up, but I think I should just move on, especially as it's telling me that my internet is unstable. So this is just an example of my own storyline, which follows this 5 minutes principle. And I won't read it, but it's this established in blah, 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 where this, where that. Many businesses lack internal resources to effectively manage the challenges of blah. They are unable to create efficiency challenges, and the business is unable to function. We are positioned to offer world-class expertise solutions that enable growing companies. So my target is growing companies. You can see that here. So I put that here. This is my target audience. People who are growing and have multiple complex work processes. So they started off as small businesses, they're now growing, and they are unable to cope with the complexity of the growth process. They are therefore an underserved market because in Nigeria, most of the high quality consulting firms are targeted at the big brands. So they end up having major efficiency challenges. They're unable to function, and we are positioned to fill that gap. So my role is to make sure I position my brand in such a way that I am present and visible to those underserved markets. And then I said here, brands that are able to we offer them to resolve urgent productivity and profitability challenges. This is our ideal customer. So you have to have an urgent problem to really come to us. We're not there for when things are going well. We're problem solvers. So we're looking for people. So I have a persona for who my ideal client is, and everyone needs to have that. You need to know who your customer is. And which is why I don't have conversations with just you know what I'm saying. I mean, you don't pitch your products at just anyone. And then my call to action is book a free consultation today, because I won't have that conversation and just leave you hanging, so I will say something. And the hook is no strings attached. Let's have a conversation. If any of this sounds like it's your business, it's your company, then let's have a conversation. So that's that. And of course, you tweak this as it goes along. So these are some of the services that we have, which I've said we've pulled down into products. So workshops that we do customized for people. We've run a couple for some for some partners. Some we actually do actual workshops. Some we may not need to do workshops. We just line conversations, and then we come up with strategy documents as well. This is our e-learning, a sample of the e-learning page that is coming up, where we're going to be running courses for people. It will be both to groups of people and individuals. That's part of the product offering that we have there. And I'm about to end this very soon, and think I'll stop on this one. The one thing I would say though before I end is that we have set up a Facebook learning community, which is what we call, say, an A-Learners for Life. And if you're interested in joining that, we're hoping that it can be a hub of where people can just come in with their, business. It's going to be tailored around leadership, careers, workplace tips, strategy, communications, and business leadership. So it's a private group, and anyone that people who are on these webinars, you have the option, you can join, send an invite after this session. I would invite you in. And we hope that it can be a learning hub where people can just be open and ask questions and say, I'm having this problem. What do you think? How did you solve this? And everyone can just support one another. So that's where that's going. So I think I should just stop here. I think I've passed my 30 minutes. Yes, I have. So, and I'll open it up to questions at this point. Let me just check whether there are any questions in. I hope my audio has been good and you guys have heard me pretty well. And I hope I wasn't talking too fast. I have a tendency to do that. Okay, what's the best approach for brand awareness for B2C? As B2C, well, there's no, I wouldn't say there is, and thanks for that. I wouldn't say there is a particular approach. I think it's just to get your brand out there. So you can use social media, you can use digital, but tell me a bit about what's your business. If you can tell me what the business is, then I can give a little bit of advice. But I think right now with lockdown, everybody really has to go digital. And you have to target it. Now, this is the time of real targeting, because you can't, the market is too big and not everyone is your customer. So that time of just throwing, like they say, spray and pray is not on. So, which is why I would always counsel people that you're not in a hurry, particularly if you want to build something that is going to last. Take some time. I mean, even these women that we see, like in Nigeria, frying, like yam or all these things or whatever, they know, if you notice, there's a spot they've chosen. And everybody knows. In fact, many of them, if you notice, if anything happens and they get chased away from that spot, they're never able to revamp the business elsewhere, even though they still have the skill, because the location and the people around was a very, very important part of the offering. And the person may not be able to, make that kind of revenue from somewhere else. So it really does depend on the nature of your business. But I think right now, I would say social media, digital, but I would need to have a little bit more, know about the kind of business you are in. And then even social media, it has to be targeted. If you're fashion, then you should be on Instagram, and then sort of look for your customers and where they are and what you need to do to get their attention, But so I really need to know a little bit more about the brand before I can say what's best for you. But generally, if it's a lifestyle brand, then it's Instagram. Facebook, I don't know. I think some people sell on very, very small businesses can sell well on Facebook, I think, if you are selling personal products. But I'm yet to see evidence that shows that Facebook is actually a good place to sell anything. But it's a good place for building a community and for being part of a community. So that is also useful, whereby you can meet people who may, things may eventually work out with. I don't know if that answers your question. Please let me know if it does or it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. So any other questions? I don't know if anyone has dropped any ones that I missed. Okay, everyone here is saying small business. Okay. Please just type it in the chat if you have a question. You don't have to unmute your mic. You can just type in the chat. I hope I've been clear though. if there's anything, have I been clear in my communications, or I hope I wasn't I wasn't a little bit too fast. So we have a little bit of time left, but I think maybe I should just, Kyle, if you have any questions, just type them in as well. Other colleagues on the line, please, any questions that you have, just type in. Otherwise, we may have to bring this to a close. I saw some people just joined in, so you probably missed in quite a bit, but so we'll just leave this open for questions. So the general thing I would say though is that I think my advice to, so how do we join the Facebook community? Okay, Tabitha, thanks for the feedback. Thank you. So I don't have a link here, but what we'll do is that when we reply to everyone that joined, I assume everybody that joined is registered. We will send the link with the email. But what you can also do is that you can Google SA&A Learners for Life, and then you will, on Facebook, you just Google SA&A Learners for Life. As it's written down here, I'm pointing to it down there. I hope you can see it. You will see it, and then you just ask to be let in, and then we'll be able to let you in. The free consultation is just a 30-minute consultation, and so it's really for anyone who thinks that, okay, maybe I need help or just a little bit of advice on, what's the next step for me. And that's just an offering to those of you on the call. You can just send us an email, but it's just be 30 minutes and we will just, talk with you on whatever your areas are, and we'll give you what your thoughts are, and, just share whatever it may be, and that's fine. Of course, if you're a member of the learning community, what that means is that you can ask questions at any time. Once you're in the learning community, then of course we'll have to answer you what the questions are, if they're just questions that you have. But otherwise, it will be a 30-minute consultation if you're contacting us on email. And then, so that's your question. I hope that's fine. So it's a one-off 30-minute consultation, after which, whatever happens then. Then Damilola has a question saying, and thanks for the feedback. She says that, what of people with ideas, but there is no fund to start? Is there a better way to get people to fund their ideas? Yeah, so this is the starting point, Damilola. And I think this is, you have to do your homework. A lot of people, I think the days of asking people to just bring money, like I said, if they're your family members, yeah, you want to encourage you to give you the money. But if you're going to people who are not your family members, then you really need to have a solid proposal. And people cannot sit down and read through a business plan, which is why what we had shared earlier about showing the at a glance view, having something that you can, and then depending on the kind of time that you have, you should be able to talk about your organization, whether it is within 5 minutes, whether it is within 30 minutes. But the important thing is you having done your numbers. I mean, for one, there are several times people have come to me and they say they want to do business. I mean, what they're saying is not making sense. Do you understand? It's not making sense. But the person is really very happy with what the person is saying. And I'm like, okay, is this charity? Do you want me to tell you the truth? This doesn't sound like, you can tell the person has not done any work whatsoever. So the point is, to make a success of a business, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes knowledge about the market. So you really, and that's really one of the reasons why we're having this session. You really must have done your homework. So I would say, if you haven't done a business plan, then you're putting the horse before the cart, to say, that you're going to be asking for, as in, you really need to have gotten the business plan first before you. I hope I'm still on. My skin has just gone blank. Oh dear. Ooh. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wow. Okay, so my screen sharing just stopped. I thought I had gone off. Okay, so so I think the important thing is that you should first of all really, really get your idea firm, because when you do, then it's easier to attract funding, whether it is from even family members, whether it is from formal lenders, or well, if you're doing a tech startup and you're going the VC route. Because what I found, and there's a very high rate of failure in small businesses. And I think that it is because a lot of people, first of all, they don't really spend time on the research. They are really about, and I understand our economy is very tough. So a lot of people are just like, I just need to do something to get myself together. But then if you now spend a lot of money into something you don't know about, that's horrible, because when you now lose that money, you're left with nothing. So for me, I would rather, I think a lot of people focus on financing, but I'm like, what about your business idea? When people say financing, get it, I'm like, really, but how solid is that your business idea? Are you telling me now that if somebody came and gave you all the money you need, you make a success of it? Most people are not even sure. They can't make a success of it. But by the time we focus so much on the funding, you just need the funding. So the question I will ask is, okay, if you need funding for market research, that's a different thing. Because now what you're saying is, I don't know enough, but I even need money, even a little bit of money, even to do a bit of the research. But even at that, again, spend a lot of money on research. Where is it all going? So I would rather say spend money on data and do research on the internet and hone your story. Look for something that you can do if it's to make ends meet, that is not whatever. But I mean, that doesn't require too much. You can start with a little bit of money. So even if you're asking people for money, maybe friends and family can help out. But if you want to go to a formal lender that is going to borrow you money, because I mean, no one's going to give you a grant except you go for any of those, how would I say, Dragon's Den kind of events where they give money and all that. Even those ones come with strings attached. But other than that, I think it just helps. And like I said, I've seen too many people go into business because they saw someone else being successful, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Marketing, in fact, is product, service, marketing, all those things is what makes things so much, different. Even we see it, for instance, in the fashion and entertainment and lifestyle world, your ability to build a brand, attract a certain level of clientele, deliver your service to a certain level, it has so much to do with the work that you put into it and what you learn and how you develop yourself and how you grow. So yeah, so I think that my advice would just be work on your idea. When you work on the idea and it is good, it is easier for people to latch onto it. It's easier for you to get to people that will say they want to partner with you, they're interested in what you are doing, and start something small, in some way or form. And sometimes it is even customers that fund your idea. That's the funny thing. So don't always look at it as a lender. Some people actually grow their business based on customer funds because they start off with something that they can sell at a very little level, first of all. It's a tough way to do it, but I think it's actually a sustainable way because you learn and you grow, all along. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I would say if you have an idea, that's a good place to start. Now, stress test your idea with this business planning process. Don't just go with your idea and start asking people to fund your idea that you have not done the numbers on. You don't know who else is in the business. You have no idea of the alternatives that exist, what prices they're charging, what the customer, you don't even know who your ideal customer looks like. So I think all those questions should have been answered. But if they're answered, then it should be easier, all things being equal. But look for a way in which you can start small because customers too can fund. It doesn't have to be a lender funded. So sorry, there won't be a WhatsApp group for follow-up. Sorry, it's the Facebook group or nothing else. WhatsApp can be very tough to manage. I think the Facebook would be much better. So Tabitha says, my idea of a business tends to cater to luxury good, but it's quite capital intensive. I have a business plan. Oh, excellent. Is it possible to get funding or grants to start up, especially consider that it caters to certain individuals and not for everyone? Well, it depends. I know in Nigeria, we have a real financing problem. And I think this tech startup people, it is easier because, like I said, there's a whole ecosystem around, there's a whole ecosystem around the tech startups and the whole venture capitalist thing. So all these people in finance, tech, and all that, they have it relatively easier. But for the rest of us who are not in that sort of business, I would say if you're doing something that is luxury, you may have to go the customer funded route, except if you want to go with the banks, and you know how that can be. So you may do a bit of customer funded, try to see if you can get something from the banks, or also see if you can get something from sorry, somebody needs to go on mute. See if you can get something from yeah, I think from the banks. But yeah, oh yeah, but for luxury business, you are right though. It will either be from friends, family, customer, or the banks. I don't see, you're not likely to get a grant or something for the luxury business. That won't happen. Most of the grants are very much social enterprise targeted and things like that. So you will either have to start something and bring on some customers that can begin to bring your revenue streams going. So you may need to get, friends and family funding and that sort of thing if you have that, or try your luck with the bank with the bank. But I would question the idea of starting off a business with luxury, because what I would say challenge, let me say question. What most of the people that I see that succeed with luxury brands, they already have friends in that market. So it's very hard to get into that space if you don't have a leg in already. And if you have a leg in, then trust me, you don't need funding, because all you just need is one of them to get you. And those guys, sometimes they pay up front. So at the end of the day, still is how good is your offering? What are you offering? Are you solving a pressing need for them? I mean, I know someone who told me a story once about how, I know someone who helps people with visas, and because of the level of service, the way her customer services, I know people who delay their travel plans just so that she can handle their travel arrangements for them. And she has a lot of, as in, yeah, you'll be surprised how many people, particularly this luxury audience you're talking about, they are looking for people they can trust, and you can't put a price on that. So for me, it's about how are you even going to meet them? It's not money that's going to bring you to a luxury, to the clients in a luxury brand. It's about networks. It's how do you know there must be a service, there must be something, or you're already in it. And if you're in it, then really you don't need any funding, because those clients, they have a good way of enabling, because once they see anybody that is able to deliver what they want at a particular service, many times they pay you. They can be very good customers. At least that's the experience I have from people who have, and because they're also looking for people that they can trust, but they have to know you first before they trust. So it's not. So what I'm saying is that you can call the business anything, you can put all the nameplates on it. They will not deal with you until they know you, or until somebody in their setup recommends you, and you won't get that simply because you got funded. So it makes. I would recommend, to really think about that. Do you really want to, just have a think about that? So like for me, the reason why I can pitch my consulting at the level of B2B and also target people in a relatively, I'm not going for the major brands, but I can target medium level brands, because I worked in a global brand for 20 something years. I know how they think. If for any reason I get caught into a meeting where they tell me to write a proposal for them, I know their language, I know how they speak. I can write a proposal that they will not even believe that it was a private consultant that wrote it, because I worked in those settings for a very long. I have a leg. You understand? I've been there for a long time. So, but the only thing is, I know that the bigger brands, they will not work with, they will rather work with established companies as well. So I know that they're out of scope for me. I can be a subcontractor with the younger ones, some older ones when the time comes further on down the line. But I know that I can pitch to the medium growing brands easily. And the credibility that they bring me into those conversations is because of the experience that I had from working with global brands before. That is the same sort of thing with your own luxury thing. There must be some street cred that you have to play in that space. And it's not about money. So someone like me, I mean, whether you must have that street cred. You have to have that street cred before you can be saying, unless it's not, when you say luxury, you know what luxury is. So let's be clear that we are really talking, when I say luxury, I mean the kind of things that celebrities, high net worth individuals can pay for. Those kind of people is not funding you need. You need trust. You need trust. If trust is there, they will fund you through the orders that they give you upfront. I hope that answers your question, Tabitha, but I don't know the details of what your business idea is, so I'm just talking generically. If it doesn't make sense, please let me know. So, okay. Any last questions? I think we're about to bring this to a close now. Okay, Tabitha, oh, thank you very much. At least that makes me feel better that I wasn't just talking off point. So yeah, we've just had about an hour now, so I think I'm going to bring this to a close. Any last questions before we end it? And I would like to say thank you to everyone for joining in the middle of a work day. I really appreciate it so much. Stephen, thanks for joining. I don't know if you're still on, but thanks anyways. Most appreciated. And everyone who asked the question, we'll send a thank you note after this, and we'll share the link of the Facebook group. Oh, thanks. Thank you to Stephen. We'll share a link to the Facebook group. So if anyone wants to join, you can do so. And if you also want to reach out for a 30-minute consultation just to run your ideas through us, we can also offer that time as well. So on this note, yeah, thank you, BA. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I communicated. I was worried a bit because sometimes I tend to talk a little bit and I talk very fast. So anyway, so thank you. I hope this was useful for you, and I'm going to let you get back to your day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bode, Wisdom. Thank you, Fodo, as well. I'll let you get back to your day. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll be inviting you to some of our other webinars as well. We hope we hope that it will you will also attend them as well. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. So yeah, so I think we'll soon. I think with your permission, I think I'll end the call. Although you guys are still on though. Does anyone have any last comments? Okay, people are signing out. If you have a last comment before you're signing off, please just let me know. I mean, you can just keep it in. But otherwise, please feel free to sign out. Okay, not everybody was small business. So I think we can end the call now. Coyote, I think I can end the meeting now. Thanks for you. So ending the call now. Anyway, stop recording, or I should just end it. Is that fine? Okay. End the meeting.